The right believes that the Pulse nightclub shooting is going to provide an opportunity for them to drive a wedge between the Democratic Party and the LGBT community on the eve of the worst mass act of violence against that community in American history. They're now trying to portray the Democratic Party as having turned their back on the gay community because now they're choosing to protect Muslims, which for some reason is a dichotomy. You have to choose one or the other in America. So that's what the case that they're making. We've got a couple of extremely high-profile members of the right that we're going to go to. First, you're going to see one of the losers from the last Republican primary.
And I would note one aspect of the attack on Sunday morning, widely reported, was that it was at a gay bar. And there are a great many Democrats who are fond of calling themselves champions of the LGBT community. I would suggest there is no more important issue to champion in that regard than protecting Americans from murder by a vicious ideology that systematically murders homosexuals, that throws them off buildings, that buries them under rocks. The regime in Iran, now supported by billions of dollars of American taxpayer dollars, at the behest of President Obama, murders homosexuals regularly.
So there, if you are not willing to ban every Muslim from coming into this country, it doesn't matter whether you support gay marriage or not. He's suddenly he's the protector, the defender of the gay community.
So he's representing a party responsible for tens of thousands of gay deaths in the 1980s by denying that AIDS existed.
That's true also.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, we're going to show you a couple of other quotes of this same sort, including from Donald Trump. But look, we did a rundown on Monday of the worst acts of anti-gay violence, the most deadly attacks, and also the numbers per year, the number of attacks. We also showed you that the Muslim community at large is something like 20 percentage points more in favor of gay rights than a lot of the Christian sects in America.
48 to 20. 48%
like
of
that
Muslims in America are pro-gay marriage. 28% of evangelical Christians, even less than Mormons. I think 16% for Mormons.
Yeah.
And something like 12% for Jehovah's Witnesses. So Muslims way more inclusive and way more progressive on the gay issue than evangelical Christians.
Exactly. Yeah, and look, this was the single worst act of anti-gay violence, but there are literally thousands of attacks on gay individuals every single year. And I have a feeling if you run the numbers, the vast majority of them are not Islamic terrorists. But anti-gay violence wasn't all that relevant to Ted Cruz just a couple of weeks ago. Suspicious. Maybe you can look into the timing, figure out why that might be. But next, why don't we run Trump, and then we'll respond to both of them together. So here is Donald Trump with the same sort of argument.
This shooter, and amazingly, in Orlando, was the child of an immigrant father who supported one of the most repressive regimes on earth. Why would we admit people who support violent hatred? Hillary Clinton can never claim to be a friend of the gay community as long as she continues to support immigration policies that bring Islamic extremists to our country and who suppress women, gays, and anyone else who doesn't share their views or values. She can't have it both ways. She can't claim to be supportive of these communities while trying to increase the number of people coming in who want to oppress these same communities. Ask yourself, who is really the friend of women and the LGBT community? Donald Trump with actions or Hillary Clinton with her words? I will tell you who the better friend is, and someday I believe that will be proven out. Big league.
Yeah. So
Bigly.
on
It's an
Twitter,
adverb.
Bigly.
Yeah.
The LGBT community responded to that on Twitter with a great takedown of him. And look, we had Rick Scott, who is apparently against those on the terrorist watch list getting guns. He says nobody wants that. Well, he should talk to some other members of his party, because most of his party doesn't want that, or doesn't want that to be made illegal. And look, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump has not talked a lot about the LGBT community, which is perhaps one of the only areas where he's not regularly offending people. But Ted Cruz, I mean, they want to deny them all sorts of different rights. They were just demonizing transgender individuals for wanting to use bathrooms. They were willing to say that transgender people in general are probably sexual predators to stop them from using bathrooms. And by the way, you would never even know that it had happened if it were legal. And it has already happened to you. You've been in the bathroom with a transgender individual and you didn't know, okay? So it's not drastically affecting your life. They made that a national outrage, but they're the defenders through their actions of the LGBT community. And it's good to see that as tragic as the Pulse shooting was and the death of 49 individuals, the wounding of 53 plus, that the GOP has found a little silver lining for themselves.
I like the idea that he puts out there that somehow Muslims are immigrating to the United States in order to oppress gays. As if, like, you've been living through the Syrian civil war. Like, listen, where do you want to go? You can go to Germany, Turkey. They're like, I would like to go to America to oppress the gays. I mean, what the reason they're coming here is A, to make a living, and B, to live in peace with their family and practice a religion without the state forcing them to practice in a specific way.
Exactly.
Is that hard to understand? It's the same reason most European people immigrated here 150, 200 years ago, because they were tired of religious repression in Europe. And yes, repression exists under every religion, every state throughout human history, off and on. Yeah. There's no, I mean, yeah, you could single out Islam today for some things, some branches of it, but come on. Yeah. People want to live a nice, normal life, and that's why they move here.
Yeah. Also, we've got Pat Robertson, who you might remember, a slightly high-profile media Christian. He said gay people are demonic and will eventually die out. To be fair, he didn't say that extremely recently, but he did say that. He said the left has a dilemma of major proportions, not the side that says that gay people are demonic. The left does. We're looking at a favored group by the left, the homosexuals, and that in Islam is punishable by death or imprisonment or some sanction. So what are the lefts going to do? I don't know, what are you going to do? What is Ted Cruz going to do when he's previously gone to the speeches of religious leaders, Christian religious leaders, that call for the death of all gays?
Quote unquote Christian religious leaders, just like we should be saying quote unquote Islamic religious leaders, because these people exist in every religion.
Exactly. We showed you the bishop, the bishop who was putting out the YouTube videos right after the Pulse nightclub shooting, saying that the one silver lining here is that the world has 49 less pedophiles in it. And does that guy speak for American Christianity? I would argue that he doesn't. But he is out there. And if you want to tarnish the entirety of a billion-plus person religion because of what the most extreme people in it say, then we can do that all day long for all of the religions that pass that threshold.
That's just such a weirdness. First of all, there's two things. A weird Christian brag that people are tweeting pictures of them throwing gay people off of buildings saying, we don't do that here. It's such a weird brag. It's like, hey, we only shit on them and deny them full citizenship here. We only make them second-class citizens and squash their rights. We're not assholes. What the fuck? It's like, that's such a weird brag, right? It's like...
we stopped killing them years ago.
Yeah.
Although some do, unfortunately.
I don't know, dude. Look, I grew up a Christian, and so when I hear all this shit from the 700 Club and everything else, I always have to ask myself, did he read the New Testament?
Right.
I mean, has he ever even considered the New Testament?
They're not big fans.
It tries, like, the guy's central message before evil humanity killed him was, treat people well. Yeah. Treat people like you want to be treated. Sounds pretty radical. And don't judge.
Yeah.
But aren't we talking about, like, I mean, is it really the religion? Is it because what comes first? Is it his self-loathing and his projection of his being gay and trying to deny that in our culture, or does the ISIS come first? So it seems to me like he's driving down there to do this, and he thinks, oh shit, everyone's going to realize that I'm doing this because I hate myself and I'm gay and I've been at this club, so I better call and come up with some other reason and document it so that they don't find out I'm gay. So it's our culture's hatred of gays that was sown by our Christian country, right? That's what you guys all say. It's a Christian country, and that's our culture. So you did that. You created the scenario, and just because he says it's ISIS, because he doesn't want to admit what you scorned in our society.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, wouldn't it be great if we were an actual Christian country?
If everyone was Jesus, I would never say anything about religion.
If we actually treated each other well.
I'm not interested in that either. Look, they do mass execution of gays in some parts of the Middle East that ISIS is currently in control of. That is a point of distinction between them and the current iteration of the Christian church. But the culture of making gay people feel like outsiders, feeling like crap, making them not want to be alive the way they've been made, that's something that you've got in common, and it desperately needs to change.
And wanting to codify discrimination of them into law.
Yeah, to not just make them feel like outsiders, but to literally make them outsiders.
To literally.